Oh, we talked about reactivity was the last thing.
Yeah, like right on that page. I guess it's 58 in my book.
Yes, reactivity. Okay, so next we can move on to choosing an assessment, and we could kind of try to summarize a little quicker so we could try to get to we wanted to try to do the Cooper quizzes. So we could see if we could get to that. Okay, so let me look at the chapter summary. ABCD, that reactivity. Okay, choose assessment methods that produce reliable and valid results. Conduct assessments according to professional standards and apply conservative analysis when interpreting results. So that was the last part of choosing an assessment. Assessment methods used by behavior analysts. So moving on to assessing the social significance of potential target behaviors. Oh, but we skip habilitation. Can somebody tell me what habilitation is? And I also don't want to skip behavior, cusp, and pivotal behavior. So I guess we have to go through the book.
What you said, habilitation?
Habilitation.
It's like a rehabilitation when you change something negative about your behavior into something positive. Is how I
Okay.
think about it.
I like that definition. Does anybody else have a good, in your own words, definition? And then we can talk about how Cooper defines it.
Were you talking, I'm sorry, were you talking about habilitation, what it is?
Habilitation, yeah.
Habilitation.
So it says, defined as the degree to which the person's repertoire maximizes short and long-term reinforcers for that individual and for others, and minimizes short and long-term punishers.
So how I think of it, because I love a lot of examples, is let's say I'm watching a scary movie and I know I'm going to be, I know I'm going to be scared, but if I keep watching it, then I get, I know I won't be so scared.
Oh, okay.
Is it almost like that? You get used to it.
You might be thinking about habituation.
Yeah.
Habituation. Yeah. See, I get those two mixed up.
Yeah, I'm trying to see the difference. So habituation is something different. It's like what you're talking about, like the opposite of responding conditioning. It's where you go backwards in it and you're kind of presenting it over and over in a short period of time.
Mm-hmm. I always get those two mixed up.
Yeah, so here it's talking about habilitation. So it is is conceptually familiar to behavior analysts. It defines treatment using measurable outcomes, is applicable to a wide range of habilitative activities, deals with individual and societal needs non-judgmentally, treats adjustment along a non-deficit driven adaptive continuum, and is culturally and situationally relative. Whoa, that's a long definition. So summing it up in your own words, can somebody, I guess it's the meaningfulness of behavior change.
I think of like rehabilitation, to get rehabilitated, like you're going for modification or change to habilitate or rehabilitate whatever it is that you need to have modified or fixed. I don't know if that's
yeah, I like that association. So like rehabilitating somebody, bringing them back to I guess what am I trying to say?
Adjustment.
Yeah. Bringing
them back to their normal state
Yeah,
or
I
their
guess
natural
so.
state, you know.
Yeah, neutral state or their homeostasis.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. Okay.
Minimize then short and long-term punishers, right? Where if you're rehabilitated, then you won't be feeling as much pain. I don't know. That's just the way I tried to, because I can't remember who said that she had a problem between habituation and habilitation. So I know because they sound the same. That's just the way my brain tries to remember the difference, if that helps.
I like that. Amber just shared a YouTube link, probably explaining the differences between the two. Psychor. Well, we'll just keep going and then we'll share it on the chat and we'll all watch it afterwards so we can get through it. But she sent a YouTube link so that we can all go and look at it. But I do like that example. So rehabilitation, habilitation, we're going to associate those together to know that we're making our behavioral lasting change on this person's life as behavior analysts. Okay, so then I thought we should go on to talk about behavioral cusp and a pivotal behavior, because those are words that you might hear on the exam and people study them like crazy. So I thought it would be important for us to review them from Cooper's point of view. So a behavioral cusp occurs when a learner performs a new behavior that sets the occasion to access reinforcers that otherwise would not have been available. So with this one, with the behavior cusp, you always want to think about a whole new world. So it is opening up all of these possibilities or new possibilities, learning opportunities that they might not have ever had if they hadn't learned how to man or something like that. Amber says, like when a baby starts crawling or a toddler starts walking. Yes, so crawling, walking, all of those things are going to change my life. It's going to be a whole new world. Now I'm going to be able to access the things that I want because I can walk and I can crawl to them. Or like in our, relating it back to us, it's like I taught this client how to man, and now he's able to access what he wants. He's able to label things. So he's able to man, tact, he's able to echo, he's able to produce intraverbal responses, all of these new skills that he's able to learn from learning this one. So behavioral cusp, we're opening up a whole new world of opportunity. And then you have, or does somebody want to give an example for behavioral cusp? So Amber gave the one about the toddler crawling and walking. I talked about manding.
What about learning to read?
Learning to read, yeah, that can be one, because now you're going to be able to go and like search the web and find all these new things that you can do. You can just go read a dictionary. I don't know, you're able to learn all of these new things now because you can read. Yes, I like that example. Anybody else? Okay, so we got behavioral cusp, so let's move on to pivotal behavior. So pivotal behavior. Oh, okay. So here they use the crawling example in Cooper for behavioral cusp. Crawling is a cusp because it enables the infant to contact new stimuli as a source of reinforcement. So he's able to get to his toys and parents. Perfect. All right, pivotal behavior. A pivotal behavior is a behavior that once learned produces corresponding modifications or covariations in other adaptive untrained behaviors. So basically, a pivotal behavior is learning for free. Thinking about self-initiate, join attention. I put an example for myself, join attention, perspective taking or higher order comprehension when you learn join attention. So now that you learned join attention, or who can give an example for pivotal behavior?
Well, I was just reading this. This is interesting. Choice making, self-management, and functional communication training may be also considered pivotal behaviors in that once these behaviors are learned, they're likely to produce adaptive variation in untrained settings. So
Yeah.
I feel like that last sentence of the paragraph gives a really broad definition of it.
Yeah, really good example. Self-management, functional communication. Once they're learned, they're likely to produce adaptive variations in untrained settings.
I heard executive. That was something that I was told too that could help. And that
What was it?
executive functioning.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Those are skills that I know a lot of individuals on the spectrum that have, you know, difficulties with organization, more like calendaring and scheduling and.
Oh, so that's kind of like self-management?
Yeah, I would say. So I guess it kind of falls under that umbrella.
Yes, definitely. Self-management is one of the like most important things that you can teach, and one of the like highest, like that is where you eventually want to get them. You want them to be able to conduct all of these things or do all of these things without the therapist being present. And we work on a lot of self-management stuff where he might have a binder where you're able to put out a list of activities for him to complete, and he will just go and do them, put the little sticker on done. And once he's done with the whole thing, he's able to access reinforcement, but he gains your attention like, hey, I'm finished. And so that's like really awesome because we want them to be able to function on their own eventually and be able to maybe hold a job or create their own schedule at home, even if it is a visual, like I'm gonna brush my teeth, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna take a shower, change my clothes, all of that, and them being able to manage their own self. So yes, self-management. And I guess I would go in with executive functioning would be awesome pivotal behaviors to learn because they're able to generalize that and learn more on their own. Cool.
I was thinking, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I was thinking about play skills. Would that be when a child develop play skills such as symbolic play, pretend play, etc.? Would that be pivotal or behavioral, Cusp?
I would say pivotal behavior because I teach functional play imitation. I think I was telling you guys this last time, where I like to teach functional play imitation. So it starts off as like a object motor imitation program where you're getting a activity, like for example, a vet set. I get the vet set and then I'm teaching them object motor imitation with the vet set, but they're teaching different things you can do with the vet set. So do this, and they give him his medicine and all of that. And so it's so amazing because we run it like that, very structured, very behavioral. We're contriving and making this learning opportunity of, hey, do this, brush his hair, do this. And then out of nowhere, they're left alone with that toy and they're able to do all of these things and do them on their own and do different things. So I definitely think that teaching play skills would be an awesome pivotal behavior for, I guess, learning for free, learning other things.
Can you correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression that behavioral cusp is like you need to have that preliminary, like the crawling before you could do the walking. Whereas with pivotal, right, you don't need to have the, how can I explain? Is this making sense? Like you don't need to have the preliminary behavior before you could do, like, say, the self-management, or is that not making sense, or am I not right about that? Or like
the way I understand pivotal is you're taking a skill and using that same skill in untrained areas. So it's just taking a skill. Is that right, Selena?
Yes, taking a behavior that was once learned produces corresponding modifications or covariations in other adaptive untrained behaviors. Yeah, so I guess in different settings. So would that kind of be like generalization? They're able to generalize the skill into different settings?
Right, and where when you look at behavior Cusp, they're just accessing reinforcement in different areas. That's how I try to keep them separate.
I have like a good example of that in my notes that I'm trying to look for. Okay, well, meanwhile, we can keep on going. Is everybody okay with pivotal behavior and behavior Cusp? And hi, Belinda, I didn't see you there.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. Okay, so is this behavior age appropriate? So how do you determine, and why would you determine if a behavior is age appropriate?
Because you look at the milestones of a child, right? If a child is, 13 years old and they already have certain behaviors in their skill repertoire, then why would I be teaching a 13-year-old, say, his ABCs when he already knows it, right? I might want to teach that 13-year-old some hygiene skills or something, teach them about their body, etc.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, perfect. And the reason why we do that is to ensure that we're maintaining our code of ethics and that client's dignity. So I'm not gonna sit here and teach the 13-year-old how to do a 3-piece inset puzzle when he has the ability to do like a 100-piece puzzle. It would just be inappropriate and unethical. So that would be us choosing whether a behavior is age appropriate. Sorry, I could hear my dog like drinking water in the background and it was making me crazy.
Where I've seen age appropriate come up is in school settings. Like I've visited life skill units, say at a secondary level high school. So they have a high school student playing like with a puzzle that should be for primary, and then the goals are written really low. And that's where we tell staff that's not age appropriate.
Yeah, perfect. I love when people are able to bring in the school setting. Jen also has a lot of good examples for school setting. And I've also recently been exposed to that because now I'm attending ARDs or the IEPs and all of that. And I'm seeing things like that where it's like that goal is not appropriate for that client because she already has 3 to 4 word mans and you're targeting 1 word man or stuff like that. So yes, I love that. So moving on, I think we could go on to target behaviors, prioritizing target behaviors. Assessing the social significance of potential target behaviors. Target behaviors in applied behavior analysis must be socially significant that will increase the person's habilitation, adjustment, competence, and quality of life. Okay, so that also gives us another good example of habilitation. So increase the person's competence and quality of life. That is our goal when we are selecting a target behavior. Will the behavior be reinforced in the person's daily life? Is the behavior a necessary prerequisite for a useful skill? Will the behavior increase the person's access to environments in which other important behaviors can be learned or used? Will the behavior predispose others to interact with the person in a more appropriate and supportive manner? Oh, who can give me an example of a behavior that will predispose others to interact with the person in a more appropriate and supportive manner? What skill could you teach?
Functional communication training.
Yep, that would be a good one. Because they would learn how to mend, how to do those interverbal, hold a conversation.
Sharing, right? How to share.
Sharing, yeah, how to share with others. Waiting. What'd you say, Erica?
Social circles.
Social circles, what is that? Like circle time or
It's,
like?
yeah, basically it's where you, if you want to increase peer interaction with maybe a kid with autism or another disability, you would put them in sort of a circle and guide that interaction between them and their peers. It could be like maybe, okay, set up a game or something that they could all play together.
Okay, cool. Yeah, teaching them how to interact with others in a social environment, play skills. So now that we functionally taught them how to play with the racetrack, maybe they can play with another child instead of just throwing the cars or whatever the case may be. So yes, I love those examples. And I like to guide our conversation like that, like kind of stray away from the book and bring it to real life and make it applied in that way. So let me know if you guys enjoy that or not.
That's how, that's the good thing. How you and the science better, right?
Yes.
Versus, like how to apply it in real life.
Yeah, we can't just sit here and try to memorize like how, like other, like the crams and all of that, where it's like trying to make you memorize the things. It's like, okay, I already memorized everything. Now I actually have to learn it and be able to apply it. That's the part that a lot of people struggle with. And so when I took the exam, Erica said, I do love the example. When I took the exam, one thing that I did is I thought like a BCBA. So like I've been an intern, I've been doing assessments, I've been doing stuff for a while. I learned the book stuff, which was fun. That got me my diploma, but the applied part was what helped me answer the questions. So when I sat down, I would think like a BCBA, like, okay, as I'm answering the question, as I'm reading the question, I would answer it before I read the answers, because it helped my brain to be like, oh, okay, I know it. Because that's what I initially thought that I would have done. And so that, like, my gut always was, for some reason, I passed the exam. I don't know how, because I felt like I guessed a lot because I did that. Okay, so is it a behavioral cusp or a pivotal behavior? Behavioral cusps have sudden and dramatic consequences that extend well beyond the idiosyncratic change itself, because they expose the person to new environments, reinforces contingencies and responses, and stimulus control. Learning a pivotal behavior produces corresponding modifications or co-variations in other untrained behaviors. Okay. Is the behavior age appropriate? We talked about that. Okay, so you also want to select whether the behavior is targeted for reduction or elimination, and desirable adaptive behavior must be selected to replace it. So that's another very important thing that you always want to consider. And it's something that I learned as an intern in the applied world. It was like, when you're setting a goal, do you want the behavior to be targeted? We just want to reduce it. We don't want to see it happen as much. Or are you trying to get rid of it completely? Because those are two different goals. So you always want to align your goal going back to the social significance. So who can give me an example of a behavior that we would want to eliminate completely?
Self-injurious.
Yes, perfect.
Number one.
Jen.
Yeah.
Jen said self-injurious. Olga said elopement. So yes, those are behaviors that I would set at, we want said client to reduce this behavior to 100%. We're not gonna set, oh yes, P said pica, Jen said aggression. Yeah, so those are behaviors that we don't want them to occur at all because they're dangerous or deadly, whatever the case may be. So that is really important when you're writing your goals. So always think about that when you're sitting in the exam. It's like, how am I going to select this behavior? Is it going to be for reduction or for elimination? Okay, so what is a behavior that you can target for reduction where I can say at 85% or more? So I want them to complete this goal at 85% or less.
What about stemming?
Yeah, that's a good one. Stemming, because we're not trying to get rid of it completely. We just want to reduce it in certain areas, maybe. That's a good one. On task. Erica says on task behavior. So we're trying to reduce a behavior. So on task, you would want to increase on task.
You could reword non-compliance. No.
Oh yeah, non-compliance, I guess so. Rocking, P said rocking. Oh, good. Erica changed it to off task. Yes.
Swearing or?
Yeah, swearing, cursing. I have one of those goals for one of my clients where it's only to 85% because people curse and it might be okay sometimes. So, so basically what you're saying when you put it at 85% is you're allowing it to happen for, sorry, I'm bad at math, 15% of the time. So 15% of the time, sure, he stubbed his toe and said the F word. We forgive him. So it's not as serious as maybe him eloping to a train, ongoing traffic, stuff like that. Yes, perfect.
So Selena, on something like that, when they're doing the inappropriate comments, what kind of strategies do you use with that? Like, what do you, when you're working with a student like that, what do you do with them?
So first you would want to determine what's the function, right? You always want to know what the function of the behavior is before you go and try to make an intervention. So what I would do is I would say, okay, take some ABC data on it and let me know what the antecedent is and when it's occurring. And so what I typically see, it's like diverted attention. So like teacher is talking to other teacher and then he's like, F this and F that and the S word. And then teachers, what are they gonna do? Turn around and be like, ah, we don't say that, or we use nice words, all of that. So I would start to collect their ABC data and be like, okay, every time diverted attention, he engaged in this behavior, and then consequence, they gave him attention. So for my intervention in my setting, because we're all applied behavior analysis, like we're all behaviorists, so we can do that. I don't know in the school setting because you can't explain that to everybody, every staff member. So it would
right.
be,
I know that's where the challenges come in, trying to get that correct data, number one. And for example, this one is it, he had an aneurysm, a brain aneurysm. And they said he would make inappropriate comments before, but now they're worse. So I haven't observed yet. I'll be going out there for the first time, but I'm just like, what do you do with that? You know?
yeah, it's hard. But so one thing that I did is we basically put it on extinction. So you stop providing reinforcement for the previously reinforced behavior. So the reinforcement was attention. Yes, bye, Amber. The reinforcement was attention. And so I'm going to withhold attention. So I'm going to tell all my therapists, hey, if little Billy says a cuss word, then nobody look at him. But if little Billy says, hey, teacher, everybody look at him. And so that way we're one, choosing the behavior that we want to reduce. And do we want to reduce it or eliminate it? And so it was reduce. We want to reduce it. And then the next one is you have to make sure that an adaptive behavior is selected to replace it. Why? Because ethically, that's our responsibility. We can't just remove reinforcement for previously reinforced behavior and just leave them hanging. It's our ethical duty to teach a replacement behavior. So as a replacement behavior, Belinda would have to get creative and be like, okay, how can I get him to gain that same reinforcement, that same attention that he was getting from cursing, but now using functional language. So I might put in a program where it's like, hey, all teachers put that behavior on extinction. And instead, if he says, look at me, everybody look at him. But it would be hard because in a school setting, you also have students. And so students might reinforce it. So that might be more complicated, but at least you tried. So trying something like that might be a good starting point.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Also, don't you want to rule out like medical if it's like a new behavior after your FA?
Oh yeah, because she said he had an aneurysm, right?
Right, but they did tell me that he was like that before, because this is like a secondary, like he's in junior high. So he was into porn and that kind of stuff. And so he was already talking inappropriately. And now it's more like there's less filter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because he's even doing that like to mom and everyone. So I'm like, okay. So I'll be going out there next week and I'll be able to get the data and all that then. But I was just like, well, because I was thinking that too. I'm like, but if this is a TBI, traumatic brain injury, I don't know. But yeah, but when they told me that, I was like, okay, same behavior.
Well, honestly, it doesn't matter. You still don't want him to cuss no matter what's wrong with him. You can't be inappropriately cussing. It doesn't matter.
My thoughts, like, is that because of the medical issue, or that's what I was wondering. Like, what am I gonna like weed out on this? But then I thought, well, you're right. Then behavior's behavior. So he did it before. He's doing it now. It's in him. We just have to start working with something. Yeah.
Yeah. You need to collect ABC data, but the reality is, it doesn't matter what's wrong. You gotta figure out what the function is, what's causing it, and what the consequence. But he can't go around cussing. It's just or talking inappropriately.
Right, that's totally inappropriate.
Because he isn't gonna have a sign on him that says, I have a TBI. This is why I curse, right? So
he's gonna get injured someday saying it to the wrong person.
Well,
but yeah,
that's true too. Then he's gonna that may reduce the behavior, but you gotta figure out how to find a replacement for that. That's what I would suggest. Doesn't matter what the diagnosis is. Yeah.
That's what the diagnostician and I were talking about. Like start with social stories, give them a list, like instead of this, say this, those type of things is what we were already like thinking about. But until I go out to determine what the function or consequence is, then I'll have more data to work with. But right now, just based on the phone calls, from the superintendent and some of the staff, I'm like, okay. But, they're looking at it way different the way we would look at something. But that's the information that they're kind of filtering down to me right now.
Would you do a preference assessment at one point, at least to figure out what the motivating, like it is a he, right? I guess.
Yes, a he. Yeah, probably once I've collected the data to kind of, determine, like I said, is this attention seeking? Is it, is he escaping the task? What is it that he's trying to happen at the time that this verbiage comes out, and then try to see what will he be willing to work for, what's going to work as a potential reinforcer. Then I can do a hierarchy with it, like, okay, well, first let's do this. But the things that just came off the top of my mind when they were kind of sharing that information was, I like using those T-charts where you write out the sentences that they repeat the most, saying instead of this, you have that circle with the sign. Instead of saying this, use this word instead, give them that visual, a replacement statement, and kind of teach them. And then, of course, during the social skills training would be teaching them how to have healthy relationship type and understanding that. But it's gonna, I guess the biggest thing is they have to learn. I don't go out there and just fix this. It takes time and consistency, and the interventions need to be implemented with fidelity. That's where the struggle is in school systems, getting that consistency going.
Every page, right? And that's hard in the school, I know, right? To get every.
Oh yeah, they just want me to go over there, see them one time, and it's done. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, but Olga, what I was going to tell you is right now, since we're talking about assessments and choosing a target behavior, don't confuse yourself with a preference assessment, because that's a different assessment that will happen kind of after. So first we're figuring out what assessment to choose to assess the behavior. So for example, we're going to do maybe collect some ABC data and establish the function. And then after we've directly observed him, then we can go in there and see what he will work for and how we can shape his behavior using the preference assessment. So don't confuse yourself with those.
Okay.
Right, those were my thoughts, thinking preference assessments are done like maybe after you've developed your plan, then you're going to have to see, well, what is he willing to work for? Okay, does that make sense? Okay.
Yes. Okay, so prioritizing target behaviors, just knowing which ones are more important for us at that time. So prioritizing target behaviors, let's see, what would be something more important to me at the moment? It might be his elopement. That's very important. And he keeps running away and I don't want him to run into oncoming traffic. And then one that might not be as important is tracing or coloring or his handwriting skills. I don't really care about that right now. I want him to stop running into oncoming traffic. So something like that. Okay, so
and I believe Cooper has a list. Doesn't he have a list of how to prioritize? Did I see a table somewhere in the book?
Does he? Maybe you could put it in
I think in the new one. I'll have to look. But I remember seeing that because I shared it with some of the teachers.
Oh, yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, because I always tell them safety is your number one reason to prioritize.
Okay, look at here. Does the behavior pose danger to the individual or others? How many opportunities will the individual have to use this new skill in a natural environment? How often does the behavior occur? All of that. So that's the criteria. How likely is it that we'll be able to change it? All of those. So you guys might want to look on page 66 at that graph.
Yeah, that is perfect because when I shared that, it gives them a conversational piece, but it really helps them to look at the behavior a little bit differently than the way they had been looking at it.
Yes, I love that. And I feel like we really take that for granted. Like we have that skill and the teachers don't. Like how sad is that? But that's really important. So just knowing how to prioritize your behaviors, which one's more important. So parents are going to tell you all these things that they want you to fix. You're the one in charge. You're the one that went to school. You're the one that got the letters. So you are the one that's going to choose whether that behavior is important or not. So always remember that. Don't get bullied by parents because that's how I've been feeling sometimes. Okay, so defining target behaviors. Defining target behaviors, a good definition must be objective, clear, and complete. You guys are gonna wanna remember those 3 words for your exam. I swear, I saw that somewhere in, I don't know in what way they asked it.
Yes, it was in there many times.
Yeah.
And I think where I was getting confused because some groups were saying concise.
Yes,
But
they
it's objective, clear.
that.
Yeah.
They used to say that because I remember when I first got my RBT, I studied it like that. It was objective, clear, and concise. So when I was taking my exam, I was really confused. But a good definition must be objective, clear, and complete, and must discriminate between what is and what is not an instance of target behavior. So just remember that, highlight it, post it up on your mirror. Like, just remember that everything that you do and how you select your behavior, you must be objective, clear, and complete.
So is it the complete where you write the example of what it is and what it is not?
Yes, so we can go more into them. Let me go to the actual page.
So when I do my FBAs, I usually write like any instance of such and such balling up their fists and hitting their own body. And then I give examples and I give non-examples. So I don't know if that is what they talk about.
Yeah, that kind of runs in with that. Yes.
Yeah,
that's right.
so that's,
examples and non-examples.
Yeah, you got to do non-examples, like, you know, that's.
So if you guys go look on page 70, it says the definition should be objective. So objective, that's when we're speaking in observable, measurable terms. We're not adding any extra fluff, anybody's opinions. He felt happy, he looked happy. We don't know if he's happy. We just know that he has a smile on his face, he's jumping up and down. So that is us being objective, avoiding all of those feelings and all of that. So being clear, it should be readable and unambiguous so that the experienced observers could read it and readily paraphrase it accurately. So it shouldn't be too hard to understand either. So it's very clear. If somebody non-behavioral maybe looked at it, they would know what you meant. So for example, me writing something or Belinda writing something, the teacher has to be able to implement it. So she has to be able to read the behavioral definition and know how to collect every instance, because Belinda was so clear, which one was I on? Clear? So clear that other people are able to read it and understand it.
So it has to be technological.
Yeah.
Yes, like we say, pass the stranger's test.
Yes, and then for complete, delineating the boundaries of what is to be included. Yes, I like that about the example and non-example. So for me, I don't finish writing my operational definition until I have given examples and non-examples, because in my mind, I might have understood it, but to them, they might not understand what I'm saying. So for an example, might be like climbing. So the behavior is climbing. I want you to track every instance of this client removing his feet off of the ground and going onto a surface that is not meant to be sat or stood on. But that's my example, or that's my definition. And so I would put examples include standing on a table, standing on a chair, standing on the bookshelf. Non-examples would include standing on the play structure, standing on the, I don't know, the rock wall or something like that. So, okay, I know, I'll give you guys a little challenge. So who wants to give me a Who wants to give me an example of anything? They might, okay, I'm gonna tell you guys this. When you apply to be a BCBA, they're going to ask you to give the operational definition of something. So they might ask, okay, tell me the way that you would, how you would operationally define elopement if somebody wants to try it.
I can do it. You want me to?
Go ahead.
Elopement, any instance of Selena getting up out of her chair without permission of the caregiver. Examples would be standing up and moving her legs out of the chair. Non-examples would be if a peer pushed her out of her chair and she fell on the ground.
Okay. Okay, that's
Yes,
good.
I can say, tell the story.
No subjective words in there.
Yes, perfect. Okay, Erica, we're gonna let you have a turn. So give me an example or operationally define aggression.
Oh, that should, I mean, I deal with that all day. So aggression would be hitting someone with a closed fist that leaves a mark or bruise with the intention to cause harm. A non-example would be using a closed fist to give a fist bump.
Okay, I like that.
So,
what's your example?
My example? My example.
So you give a non-example, but give them a non-example. I mean, you give them a non-example.
An example of an aggression?
Yeah.
Walking up to another person and hitting them in the face with a closed fist that caused harm.
Okay. Yeah. So she first gave us our operational definition, and then you give your example and non-example to make sure that it is complete. Okay. So remember those: objective, clear, and complete. And if you wouldn't have read Cooper, you would have been studying with all those other study guides and all those other notes, and you would have thought concise. So that's why I always like stress to people that are asking for advice. I'm like, just read the chapter summaries, at least that. That way you can know what Cooper's talking about, because this is where it's at. Like, this is what we're learning. This is who we're listening to at the present time. So yes, that's my little rant about that. But I think that's it for that. But we're almost out of time. Do you guys want to try to start the Cooper quiz for chapter 3?
I have one question.
Do you have it on your computer? Are you going to share your screen?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, cool. All right. No, I was just asking.
I mean, I can stay on for a little bit longer if you guys
Is it the old ones though? Is it from the, yeah, because they don't do new ones, right?
They haven't updated it.
I know.
Requested that last group, they were asking if we could maybe go through them. So we can do them. I mean, I did them when I studied for the exam. And those
really, yeah, they were very helpful.
They helped me. Okay, let me try to find.
I wanted to ask one quick question, Selena.
Yes.
When so I know there's goals from IEPs, right? Would you say that that's where you have to have the operational definitions too? Because with goals, I know you add in that component like 8 out of 10 times or something or whatever. I don't know. I'm just wondering if that's a little different, because I'm thinking of when I see the IEPs and we have to write like what the goals are, you kind of have to be defined.
That is what the state wants, but trying to get teachers who don't have the behavioral training, they're very, very vague. And, you know, and so that's where I struggle as well. because we have the state education agency that's coming down on us right now, red flagging that the staff are writing very poor goals and objectives because they're not measurable. For example, an academic one they put on there, they want the student to read with fluency out loud to his peers. How do you measure that? You know, so I had to try to explain to them that, okay, you need to tell us where's his performance right now in the fluency. Is he at a 36% and you're trying to get him to a 46%? Let's be more precise, you know, it's just the teachers don't understand where we're coming from. Same with behavior. They'll say, he's physically aggressive. Okay, well, we know that, but what do you want him to do? So trying to get them to write those operational definitions is a real struggle, but that's the direction the schools are trying to go into.
Thank you. Yeah, it's challenging.
Yeah,
Very.
that definitely, that is speaking in objective terms. So you want to make sure it's observable and measurable, like Belinda is saying. So how you said 8 out of 10 times, that's perfect.
I just thought they were.
But you want to say a little bit more of it's 8 out of 10 opportunities or trials and within 2 consecutive weeks or within 3 or within a grading period. They're leaving it very open-ended. So we're trying to get them to make it a little bit more measurable and more defined.
Yeah.
What is the Cooper quizzes under when I try to Google it?
I don't know. It's per now, PER.